Here on page 5 in the Vanguard that says, "Fear not, elections will hold." FG.
Well, the federal government is giving an assurance. Yesterday, INEC raised an alarm, and so in response to that, Alhaji Lai Mohammed gave an assurance, that the elections will hold. Okay, says that the election will hold. It says no cause for alarm. Mohammed said the polls will be held, adding that the federal government is aware that INEC is working with security agencies. That's the part I don't understand. The federal government is aware that INEC is working with security agencies. I think it's the federal government that the issue of security should be held down by the federal government itself. But maybe it's just just language, wrong use of language. Anyway, it says that there's no cause for alarm. Some members of the House of Reps think that INEC's alarm was irresponsible. I don't think so. It's a kind of first yellow, because there's obviously no peace in a lot of areas. You can't run away from that, and you can't have elections when there's turmoil. Labour Party say that we mustn't give in to anti-democratic forces, and APC says that insecurity is not big enough to postpone polls, and that was said by Mr. Festus Kayamo, SAN. Okay, what else do we have here? The PDP says that INEC shouldn't give APC the opportunity to continue to punish Nigerians, and Afenifere has said that the polls are sacrosanct. Pandef from the Niger Delta area says that Nigeria's democracy is under threat. Some gentleman called Adewale, Ondo State chairman of the SDP, said we've not learned from past postponements. Ondo PDP says that hold APC responsible for escalating insecurity. Yoruba Council of Elders says that INEC does not have the power to postpone or cancel elections. That is debatable. If it was postponed once. Yeah. INEC clarifies issues around security postponement of polls and so on and so forth. And the Daily Trust has a more robust headline. You would have to buy the paper to read all the details inside, so we don't waste your time. And the headline here says that Knox trail INEC statement on elections postponement cancellation. Remember, Daily Trust is it represents Northern interest. I have to keep stressing that, so to put things in perspective. And it says that we warned insecurity may jeopardize polls, ACF. Okay? So you need to follow the trail. You need to keep your mind open. And so what's going on here? Are we being prepared for something? So it says, we warned the security may jeopardize polls. This is Arewa Congress. Okay? We won't accept postponement. That is Afenifere. PDP says here, hold Buhari APC responsible if, and CSO say it's a call for action and no cause for alarm. Fine. So quite a number of people are very, very worried about this issue of violence and the polls, whether the polls will actually hold. With all the other stories you have of people being denied PVCs and so on and so forth, there's enough to worry. But though I must quickly add that personally I've jumped the gun, I'm beginning to have more worry as to what will happen after the elections, after the results have been announced. I've sat down and tried to imagine how any of the three majors would operate government, would sit into government and see how well they will position themselves and the capability of the leaders. And that is the part that worries me. It worries me. We need to tell ourselves some home truths. Some of the things that we are seeing are worrying. And this conspiracy of silence and lack of responsibility on persons who should know is also very, very worrying. It's enough for us to, during the campaign, to throw tantas, to make songs out of things, but all these signs are indeed worrying that, okay, so if A, B, or C wins, what is it going to look like? What is it going to look like? And that is where I feel, when you feel something from the pit of your stomach, that, how is this going to happen? I leave you to analyze that in your mind. There's no time for that. But really, some of us to start looking at after the elections and how this country might be handled That is the more worrying part for me. But let's go along, one thing at a time.
Yeah, we'll take this editorial from the Punch, which says, Obasanjo, the message matters, not the messenger.
I don't know why people are making so much fuss about Obasanjo's letter. I saw something written by one gentleman called Sam Omache in The Nation, and I said to myself, Obasanjo is not on the polls. Indeed, his letter, had the opposition handled it well, the letter wouldn't even matter. Some people wouldn't even have heard of it. But in the same tactless manner, we always jump at everything. Just yesterday, I tweeted, correcting the SSA diaspora something. The madam was congratulating those who won elections in America, 7 of Nigerian descent, and I corrected her that I hope this is not your official Twitter because we have no business correcting them. There's something called foreign policy. By 3 a.m. this morning, she started and told me to read the responses that people were giving. Some of the responses there were saying I was an idiot, I was this, I was a baby, I'm crying this and that and that, and she just didn't get the point. Same thing has happened here. Obasanjo's letter is meant for the young people. They could read and discard it. They could read and absorb it. As far as I'm concerned, the content therein. Okay, so you might say that I probably have sympathy for a particular candidate. Yes, I'm a human being. I don't deny that. In my private capacity, yes. There's no denial. So the issue of coming to say he's biased does not arise. But it's there for adults to read. But when you now keep going at him, it's a minus for you, tactically. Ask any well-trained PR person. There are some things in PR practice that you ignore. You just let the matter die. But it keeps coming up and up and up and up. And the point says that it's not, don't tell us what Obasanjo did or didn't do during his tenure. His family problems and his sexual habits and so on and so forth. Leave this out of it. Let's look at the context of what he's saying. And the point says that, most crucially, Obasanjo's appeal to the youth and the wider electorate to use the opportunity of the 2023 elections to reshape their destiny aligns with the fundamental goals of democracy as a vehicle for long-term growth, the challenges of the moment, and the long-term advocacy of many, including this paper, that's including the Punch. Okay, so they give out figures and so on and so forth, how bad things are for the youth. And I'll skip that and go to the last 2 paragraphs. It says that Obasanjo's message to the youth therefore resonates. The power to change is in your hands. And I'm aligning myself with that. What I have no apologies for that. The young people, the power to change is in your hands. As you lay your bed, so shall you lie on it. Okay? Your future, my future, the future, I'm reading the point now. Your future, my future, the future of grandchildren and great-grandchildren is in your hands. Politics and elections are numbers game. You have the numbers. Get up, stand up, and make your numbers count. Somebody should give me that Peter Tosh get up, stand up. I like to bring everything down. Unfortunately, most of our musicians these days sing about love and women. And I grew up with what we call rebel music. Get up, stand up. Oh my, you know it now.
Yes.
Get up, stand up. Mm-hmm. No time. Okay, and the youth and indeed all registered voters should take a critical look at the various candidates at every level, take a look critically, and their antecedents, character, plausible programs, and the company they keep. Everlashi. This is. Let me read it again. The youth and indeed should take a critical look at the various candidates at every level and take their antecedents, character, it's very, very crucial, plausible programs, and the company they keep into account, collect their PVCs, and make informed choices. Okay, and they conclude by saying democracy thrives when citizens participate in their numbers. The country cannot afford for much longer the culture of corruption, maladministration, deceit, insecurity, economic ruin, and most importantly, disrespect for the rule of law that have characterized the last 23 years. Only voters can make that change happen. Excuse me.
Yeah. So it's the message, not the messenger.
It's a message, not. I mean, come on, let's all be adults here. So if your next door neighbor gets the security whatever and passes it to you, but you don't agree with him or you suspect he's fielding with your wife, you will throw it away. You will throw it away just because you don't like him. Always look at the message. Right. By the way, where is Professor Wole Soyinka in all this? He usually would be saying something.
Usually.
Where is he?
Usually.
I just thought of it this morning. I'll go search for him.
Usually.
Ask,
let's take this story here from the Vanguard on page 32. PDP crisis. G5 governors didn't endorse Atiku Autumn's aid. G5 governors don't lule. They're down and out. that G5 concept is gone because they have various interests. Autumn has shown, indication that it's geared towards what's he called now, Peter Obi. Wike is probably just standing alone. Sheyi Makinde is going to have to quickly turn around if he knows he wants to win the election, the gubernatorial election in the Oyo State. They've boxed themselves into a corner and confused everybody. Okay. Also, because of their demands, are you going to tell Asiwaju, for example, not to support Teslim Falani? How does that happen? So they've and I said here that they were going to box themselves out of the ring, and that is exactly what happened. Very soon they'll be political orphans. The Atiku has moved on without them. They're not going to get much from Bola Tinubu. Maybe what's his name? Yeah. Wike will run quickly to. I heard some of the things also had to do with their demands. I heard some demands like, I would like to be petroleum minister and so on and so forth, making those demands very early in the day. And I think that the APC people just wouldn't have any of that. They wouldn't have any of that. So that's where we are today. The special advisor to Benue State Governor on Media and Publicity dismissed media reports claiming G5 governors have endorsed presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar. Some of them will have to run back there. The two or so from the southeast, it's going to be very difficult for them to openly endorse a candidate when somebody from their region. I know the sensitivities of that in Nigeria. So they're going to have, quite. At the end of the day, they've burnt themselves out, and we'll see how that goes. Yep, we will. We're going to go to the Punch. We have a story here on page 5 of the Punch newspaper. Outrage trails hemp-spoken baby video. Police seek information.
I couldn't believe this.
I haven't seen the video. I only saw pictures.
Yeah, I couldn't believe this. Listen to this. The police have sought information on a man who shared suspected hemp with an infant in a video that went viral on Twitter. The video shared on Twitter revealed the yet to be identified bare-chested man. What is correct if you look at the photo, but if you look at his mouth, he's holding the baby on his lap while smoking the drug. The man was observed sharing the. Oh my God! See, I say this over and over again. It appears nobody is listening. There is a need for us to put some controls on what is shared in the social media. Whether we like it or not, there must be. This is not the only irresponsibility that you see. If you see women particularly, of some substance, if you see the language that they now use, exhibiting front and back and so on and so forth, these things would destroy a country or any community. And that's why in some countries, there's no direct access to that kind of social media. The same to do with porn sites, Nigerian porn sites now. Oh my God, you could never finish counting them. And we're degenerating bit by bit, day by day, minute by minute. The same also has to do with this, I call it prank.
Yeah, the skit makers.
These skit makers and so-called prank. Some of them are very dangerous. So we need to put some element of control. And I hope that they nab this guy. How could you give India, whatever it is, anything smoke? There was another one, a woman, wearing a nice pair of designer jeans, and they were at a party. She was giving beer to, the boy must have been about 3.
Oh my.
From the way the boy held the bottle,
At 3.
At 3, oh, you know how to hold the bottle. You know, and it's very sad. So the man, they're looking for the man. He was observed sharing hemp with the child. Twitter users, of course, some of them now condemned him. When and how did we get here as a society? Please, we need this guy prosecuted and the accomplice too. Another one says, every one of us can see this again. How did we get the baby and his son or niece, the cousin? Whatever it is, mothers must learn from this and not entrust their babies to the wrong hands. I think because we've made the social media some kind of free-for-all, everybody believes they can do as they please. Throwing of money, for example, is against the law. You see videos where they throw large trucks of money. You don't go after them and make an example out of them. And what does this do? It promotes crime. You now find a lot of young people want to follow the things they see on Twitter and what's the other one, Instagram and so on and so forth. Then we must put some control on some of these things, whether we like it or not. But I hope the police, they have his photograph anyway, they can put out a wanted sign. Is his face? Look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two
things. If nobody had shared this video on Instagram, would we have known?
The truth is that if he knew,
I think it was on Twitter.
If he knew that if he did, he would, because he didn't. Most likely, he didn't give the hemp to the guy because he wanted him to smoke. He was looking for public attention.
Right.
So if in the first instance he knew that is a no-go area and is a crime, he wouldn't even have done it at all.
Right.
He did it to attract. Not that he wanted the boy to taste the jerugbe. He did it to so that he could gain traction. And there's this thing about having followers on Twitter and Instagram, building up followers. That's why you find, especially women, they say the most degenerate of things. I want people you call yalele, people who should be housewives, who should be mothers. It's the most vile of things to attract attention. Look at, I have a blog. I know what figures I get just because on my blog we only talk serious issues. But look at the other or the porn sites or whatever, and look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. The employment rate in Nigeria is partially high because there are a set of people who have decided to spend their time and their lives, quote and unquote, having a good time on the social media. Because we still have this idea of you can always run to Sheriff from intern, and you can always run to Jimi Disu. You cannot have 20 there. And so on and so forth.
Let me take, let's take, because I was thinking about that video and normally it shouldn't have been shared that much. I haven't seen the video myself, but for the police PR Adejabi was mentioned, was tagged in the video. That's why he responded to it.
Who tagged him?
Another individual.
Oh, so that he could see it.
Yes.
Well, it's a challenge for the police. You need to make an example out of these people.
Yeah.
I've also been shouting on and on and on about the need for us, for the government to issue a statement and guide people on these so-called pranks that they do. We shouldn't wait until somebody dies, or gets fatally wounded.
Right.
Yes, before we decide to put it under some kind of control.
Let's take this one here that says NIS sets up team for 100,000 unclaimed passports. That's immigration, by the way.
Yes, this government is going to go down as the only government that I know that endorses by word of mouth expired passports because they can't meet up the demand. So what has happened in the past 1 or 2 months or so, they issued directives to airlines and everybody to carry Nigerians who have expired Nigerian passports. I mean, I thought even giving out these passports in itself is a commercial venture anyway. People pay for it. So how come we not get this talk? It's the Nigerian factor. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. The so-called concentration on infrastructure and so on and so forth. Yeah. The things, our foreign policy is in shatters. Even left to the SSA. I'm sorry I keep mentioning her name. I had always said that I thought it would have been better if they kept her in the information function. Our foreign policy is in tatters. We don't even know what it is. I mean, what business has a top government official got congratulating House of Reps? Did you hear the Indians congratulate Sunak when he became Prime Minister? The man is English, but he's of Indian descent. They're two separate things entirely. Just like a Badenoch. Badenoch, she's English. She was born in the UK, she's English, but she's of Nigerian descent. That doesn't mean she's a Nigerian. But we have all these things in tatters. It's disgraceful that you can't carry. So what happens if you want to go, let's say you're in the UK and you now want to go to the United States for a wedding or whatever it is. You can't go with an expired passport. I don't understand it. And I said, okay, maybe I could be wrong. What would it take for you to say that, okay, if you want to renew your passport, since we can't issue new passports, you can come and we can stamp it renewed or have some kind of stamping on it. But no, you are encouraged to come with an expired passport, which is in breach of all well-known protocols. It's very sad. Well, they've set up a team. They say 100,000 unclaimed passports. So if you have your passport, you better go check and see if yours is one of them. In Lagos State alone, uncollected passports, 40,000 produced passports are yet to be claimed by applicants. And that's also because most people get their passport through third parties, usually staff there. And sometimes in a bid to extract, you say, booklet. It's only the 100 something booklet we have. We have the 64 page, one kind of nonsense things go on. So I'm sure it's people like that who 40,000 of them in Lagos alone have their passports stuck in the passport office. It's very sad. It says here, the mandate of the senior officers was to ensure that everything possible was done to locate the applicants whose passports were among the 100,000 produced passports, which have not been collected by the prospective holders. The failure of applicants to come forward to collect their passport after months is worrisome. Yes, because people have lost hope in the system. It's the same thing that happens at the immigration post. In Ghana next door or in other countries, you get to the immigration post, you put your passport on it, that door either opens or it doesn't. Once it doesn't open, there's somebody watching you from somewhere, and here's someone, the next person goes. In Nigeria here, you first of all queue to get DSS clearance. The man takes his only God knows how long looking through one computer. When you finish with that, you now go and join another queue. Come on. In 2023, you now go and join another queue. And making life, and here is a country that places a lot of premium on FDIs. Simple immigration matters you can't solve. Well, Nigerians, like I say, you have a choice. If you like to continue living like that, it's up to you.
Let's take our last story this morning. Detractors after me. DSS boss speaks after wives row with Kano governorship candidate.
Well, I sympathize with the DSS boss, but he has to be very careful that this thing doesn't blow in his face. He has to be very, very careful. Because when you say some forces are sponsoring a smear campaign against him, his family, key officials, just after the incident in Kano that we don't have a clear picture about, then, it doesn't look too tidy. It doesn't look too tidy. I think what in the case of his wife, a definite statement should have been issued, and behind the scenes find a way to resolve the matter before it expands. Treat it as a wound before it becomes a cancer. But to just issue a statement to say, there's some people who want to discredit this and that, it doesn't answer the question. Okay, it doesn't. Our good friend, Dr. Peter Ofunaya, in a statement on Tuesday morning, said no amount of intimidation, harassment, and blackmail will deter him from discharging his duties. That's why he's the DSS boss. You don't become DSS boss by not being able to do this. So you're stating the obvious. But he says that he believes that sections of the media have been briefed to implement the strategy through sponsored articles, commentaries, and features to malign the DG, his family, and select officials of the service. Then the next paragraph I find, Dr. Afunaya, it says, the service is monitoring developments and will allow the plotters to either exhaust themselves. You can't do that. If they're doing something that is in breach of the law, you have to stop them in their tracks. To either exhaust themselves or rescind the plan of action. Otherwise, no amount of intimidation, harassment, and blackmail will deter it from discharging its duties. The DSS is a security organization. It should at minimum be seen, but it should not be heard, and shouldn't be involved in this kind of political brickbat. Just do the needful. If you are not going to be giving us definite facts that this is what has happened, I don't think it's tidy that things by saying the section of the media have been put together to align this man and that man without facts. It's not tidy, sir. I don't really recommend that should happen. Like I said, the best thing to do, come out with a definite statement on what happened between the wife and that politician, and then try and see how it can be resolved legally or otherwise, and let's clear it out of the way before we face it. The DSS had millions of challenges. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but that's the way we talk. I remember when I was small, when they say count this one, when you count up to the point, it's uncountable. They have millions of challenges to face without this, what I would call a distraction.
Right, we must go now.
On that note.
Who is coming on Dear Bumi today? Sisi Oge is here at 9 on Daily Digest. Dear Bumi, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Lagos, we're going to take the news now. When we return from the news, we're going to talk about this video trending online of a gentleman who said that some politicians collected his card, wrote something out of his card, then gave him a small bag that contains 2 Indomie, 1 Congo of rice, 1 Congo of gari, 1 Congo of beans, 1 Congo of this. That's next. And I'm addressing this to the IT guys. INEC has said there's nothing wrong. Nothing can be done with the PVC, but if indeed nothing can be done, why are the politicians, why are they still collecting PVCs and harvesting information on PVC? Let's do that at 8 after the news.
When I finish downloading this show like this, I will go straight to Tayo's house to eat sweet jollof. Then enjoy this movie on YouTube. It's just that time.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info.